"Are you going to stitch it?" she asked nervously, holding out a small, bloody finger. Crowe guessed she was about 4 or 5 years old, and her eyes brimmed with tears that she was trying very hard to hide. The finger was bleeding quite heavily. It would need stitches to hold it, and bandages to keep it clean as long as possible. This would be difficult with the cold and wet weather on the banks of the Thames, and even more so for a child with probably only a makeshift shelter to live in, and very little to eat. She had come to the clinic alone. She might have a parent, but probably not. Most of the poorer people living on the riverbanks knew of Crowe's clinic, which catered specifically to their needs. He had opened it several years ago, after he had become skilled in healing, before he had officially qualified to call himself a doctor, or indeed to practice medicine at all. Crowe never charged these people for his services, but they had no money anyway. Not much had changed in the years since he had opened the clinic, except that he was now officially qualified, and he had gained the confidence to face authority and stand his ground. Occasionally now, on rare occurrences, someone could pay, and Crowe would have enough for supplies, other than food. "Are you going to stitch it?" she asked again. He examined the finger. "Yes, I am," he replied. She sniffed. "Can you darn it where the hole is?" she asked hopefully. Crowe thought perhaps she had seen her mother or her grandmother darning the holes in a sock. "Not exactly," he replied. It was always better to tell the truth. When he saw how her eyes grew wide, he added, "I'll stitch it closed, and then you have to keep it covered and dry. It will fill in itself. You can do that?" It was more hope than belief. She nodded slowly. "Now hold still, and be very brave," he instructed. "Perhaps you don't want to watch. You don't have to." She blinked, and a tear ran down her cheek. She nodded, then watched as he cleansed the wound, and then chose a needle from the small case and threaded it with very fine gut, almost like a hair. He had to keep his attention on what he was doing, so he was sure to catch the blood vessel as well as the broken skin. He must leave her with only a slight scar, not puckered in a way that would always be uncomfortable. She flinched as the needle pricked her, but she did not pull away. Crowe worked as quickly as he could, only now and then looking up at her for a second or two. He knew he was hurting her. Fingertips were intensely sensitive, but there was nothing else he could do. The wound had to be given the chance to heal. If it became infected, she was too small and perhaps too malnourished to fight the infection off. After the last suture was in place, Crowe trimmed away the excess thread and cleaned around the wound. Then he went straight on to bandage it heavily. He reminded her not to take off the outer layers, even if they became soiled. "To protect it," he explained. "And now," he added, "I'm going to have lunch. Would you like some too?" He knew she was probably hungry most of the time. "I haven't any money," she said, in little more than a whisper, as if frightened that he would be angry. He smiled and gave a shrug. "Neither have I, as it happens. So, will you have lunch with me? It's vegetable soup with potatoes in it." She gave the smallest nod, barely a movement at all. "Come on, then. Can you eat with your left hand?" It was the right one that had been injured. "Yes." He led the way out of the room in which he and his assistant, 22-year-old Will Monk, more often known as Scuff, saw their patients.